The following is a fan-made review show. These are not official reviews, nor commissioned, nor monetized videos. All works featured on this channel are properties of their respective owners. Please support the official releases.
This show sucks! Bloodbath is without a doubt one of the most infuriating follow-ups to an anime I have ever seen. For me, this is the anime equivalent of Revenge of the Fallen. Yeah, it's that fucking bad. And yes, I am that pissed off. For a good reason, too. One, for being associated with an amazing OVA, and two, Clamp, the studio that brought us fucking show bits. How did they fuck this up? If you're not angry, you fucking should be. If not for Clamp's involvement or lack thereof, then for the tarnished name for the Blood franchise. I shouldn't be this pissed off, but I am. So let's review this travesty. But first, let's rewind the clock and take a look at the previous installment before heading to this fucking mess. The original anime, titled Blood, the Last Vampire, was released worldwide on July 29th, 2000, and was released in Japan shortly after on November 18th, 2000. The 45-minute short was a huge hit, mainly by introducing the character of Saya, the so-called last true original vampire, hunting down bat-like beasts called chiropterans for a secret government agency specializing on tracking and killing said creatures. The lone vampire hunting down their own kind isn't really treading any new territory, but it's with the character of Saya that left a very big footprint in revolutionizing anime as a recognized art form in the West. Back when English dubs sounded like this.
Hey, Benton, don't crap your pants if you see a vampire out there.
Get lost. You wouldn't recognize a goddamn vampire if one jumped up and bit you on the end of your fucking dick. So just get off my back.
The character was later used in the 2005 anime Blood Plus, which was a very loose adaptation of the original OVA, but further developed Saya as a character, for better or for worse. Needless to say, Blood Plus stood well on its own as its own show, and while it borrowed elements from its predecessor, it is still recognized as being part of the Blood franchise. Now, after a live-action film based on the original OVA, Bloodbath was released, and... yeah, let's scrap the history segment for a bit, because I need to get this off my chest. Before I go any further into tearing this show a new asshole, I need to first make it a point to actually discuss about the stuff I actually liked about this show first, so you can understand my complete and utter hatred for this show. So, in all fairness, I'm going to talk about the good stuff first. First up on the docket, the violence and gore, and by God, I fucking love it! If I were to remake my intro with new footage of mass carnage and gore, this anime would be a top contender. It's that magnificent. I haven't seen a show this brutal and unforgiving airing on TV since the likes of Elfen Lied and Gantz, and that is no joke. Humans and monsters alike are torn apart in an orgy of flying limbs and gore, enhanced heavily by the fluid and polished artwork. Which easily brings up the best part about this show, the fight scenes. The animation studio behind Bloodbath, Production IG, which was also the studio behind Blood Plus, brought their fucking A-game and it hit it hard where it counts. Every fight is unique, albeit repetitive in its outcome, but the amount of carnage and gore amounting during the fight is enough to make me look over this slight nitpick. I will also note, while the animation certainly delivers in the gore department, the show opens up with one of the most energetically, perfectly stylized opening sequences I've seen in quite some time, where it matches and syncs up beat for making every musical cue work to its favor. The result is a stunning opening sequence that I don't mind watching over the course of the series' running time, if not for the visuals, but for that catchy song. Another thing I liked is, believe it or not, the English dub, which in this case isn't half bad considering some of the other shows I featured on Anime Bloodbath, which isn't saying a lot in comparison. But all the actors do a fine job in their respective roles. Now that I had my moment to geek out, time for me to finally dive into what I consider to be 2011's worst anime. The story follows Saya, a shy valley girl who lives in a temple as a shrine maiden. Wait, what? It is here where the first major complaint of the show begins. What the fuck did it do to Saya? The heroic vampire slayer that decimates everything in her path to protect humanity is now reduced into nothing but a moe blob. Blood Plus, whether you like it or not, didn't even come close to the characterization of what Blood-C is presenting to us. While they got rid of the dark, uncharismatic, and brooding nature of the character in the OVA, it gradually built up the character from the ground up into a character that can be as sympathetic as she is deathly. The OVA doesn't go too much into her character, yet it works as a one-shot production, as it just establishes her personality and the brutal nature of the path she chose. But this?
Oh, it's so nice outside today.
This is one of the many gripes I had to put up with this fucking show, and I'm only going through the fucking plot synopsis. For fuck's sake. As you can tell from my expression and tone of voice, I am not pleased, and it's all downhill from here. Tangent aside, the story follows Saya, a shrine maiden living with her father, who lives a particularly normal day-to-day life as a bumbling schoolgirl. At night, however, it is revealed that she's the protector of the town, defending them from creatures known as the Elden Baron, who seemingly appear randomly or by sheer convenience, massacring every human that comes in contact with them. As Saya stays true to her duty both day and night, her life may not appear as sweet as she imagined, as she begins to question her role as the town's protector as Elden Barons start killing off the people she cares about most. And now for the stuff I didn't like. Nothing about this show makes any sense. At all. Let's discuss where Blood-C fits in the continuity with other installments. If there's one thing wrong with every Blood adaptation, is that they retcon almost all the pre-existing continuity in a heartbeat, and this show is no different. Why? Because every installment is some fucking reboot or reimagining of some kind. The events of the original OVA, while key in forming the likeness of the character, did not offer much other than some neat ideas, which was fascinating as it was confusing. Blood Plus expanded on the character of Saya and her duty as humanity's last savior, and expanded on the ideas and characters introduced in the original OVA, while still trying to be its own thing. Now this I'm willing to accept. The OVA was meant to be a one-shot production, not this major-scaled franchise. So when Blood Plus came around, it was rather an improvement if anything else. Really, they didn't have much to work with at the time, and the OVA gave us very little information to go off of. By the end of Blood Plus, Saya's story was resolved, and it opened itself up for a possible sequel within that universe. And had they gone that route, it would have felt a bit more deserving to say the least. This was the largest adaptation of the material done in the entire franchise. It would have felt at least that the show earned it. Then Blood-C happened, and all of Blood Plus's continuity went straight down the shitter. Not only that, but the show abandoned the original OVA's mythos as well. Blood-C starts off on a blank slate with no pre-establishing media other than the two previous incarnations. The only thing that's carried over in this series is the character of Saya, which effectively makes this series a reboot more than anything else, and a very poor one at that, by alienating its own fanbase in the process, which makes this whole affair more insulting as I put it to words. Now if you thought the continuity was all kinds of fucked, take a gander at the story. As I said in the synopsis portion of the review, Saya is now a shrine maiden and she's the protector of her town, and she begins to question her role as the protector when she fails to protect her friends from the Elden Baron. Now I already expressed my thoughts on shrine maiden Saya. Thought that was an issue? Well, that doesn't hold a fucking candle to the final 2 episodes of this series. To explain this fully, I need to go into extreme spoilers, so you've been warned. Throughout the series, Saya has been killing off Elden Baron as they attack and massacre citizens of the town, including her friends and fellow classmates. It's gotten to the point that all of her friends are apparently dead. Now, she's losing faith in herself and questioning her identity as she failed to protect them. But guess what? All of her friends are alive and well. Allow me to express my genuine reaction. What the fuck? This came out of fucking nowhere. Nowhere in this series was it mentioned, referenced, or even implied that these characters were alive. Let me show you their death scenes. that anyone would survive being sliced in half, decapitated, and reduced to puddles of blood by these fantastical creatures? I don't fucking think so! But wait, it doesn't stop there. They were a part of a large, elaborate production in which they had to befriend Saya and to deal with it. Supposedly they were being paid enough money to set them up for life. But wait, you say, how did they survive such brutal attacks by the Elden Barons? Well, they had talismans on them. Again, what the fuck? This is the first time we, the audience, have ever heard about this, and we have to ask ourselves, how does this work? Wanted to know that information? Well, too fucking bad. It's never explained in the rest of the series, and considering it's the second to last episode they chose to throw all this shit at us, there's not enough time to fully explain it or go into it fully in depth. Brilliant fucking writing. Ready for another one? All the civilians have been attacked so far by the Elden Barons are actually dead. No talisman protection, no nothing. Meaning that people actually have to sign up for this entire act, this charade to domesticate Saya, without even regarding their own life. Confused yet? Too bad there's more. The cafe parlor Saya talks to every morning as part of her routine is actually a powerful and ridiculously wealthy man who orchestrated the whole affair as a bet between Saya and himself whether or not Saya would change her violent and impulsive nature. All of this information is literally thrown at you to the second to last episode of the series, and it comes completely out of left field with no warning whatsoever. It's as if the show's writers were like, haha, bet you didn't see that one coming, did ya? Of course I fucking didn't! You didn't bring it up in the first place! But that's not even the worst of it. The final bitch slap the show has to offer is this. This entire series was built up for a fucking tie-in movie! That's right, 12 episodes of nonsensical bullshit, only to tie it up by saying, hey, you want all your questions answered? Go see our movie. Everything will make sense once you see our tie-in movie. Fuck you! I've seen Bloodbath apologists online claim that either the movie will solve everything, or that the ending is good because it warps your perception of reality along with Saya's. To which I respond, with all due respect, what the fuck are you thinking? First off, warping the perception of reality doesn't mean shit if it was done poorly like it was done in Blood C. Just because you have an interesting element at your disposal doesn't allow you, or anyone else for that matter, to abuse it by dropping well over 5 major plot twists in one episode, just when the show's about to wrap up. Even M. Night Shyamalan would tell you that's being excessive. That's not being clever, that's terrible storytelling. Second, I've seen the tie-in movie, and without giving anything away, the events of this series, while the main driving force for the narrative, becomes more or less an afterthought since you're trying to fill in the gaps between the film and its predecessor to make any kind of logical sense. In short, it's just as poorly conceived as the series that followed it, and it's not doing itself any favors. Don't think I'm reserving judgment or talking out of my ass. I'm calling this out for what it is. A poorly told story that happens to have grade A production quality. And all of that is squandered because of the piss-poor narrative. If there are any apologists watching this, I challenge you to answer these questions with absolute certainty. What are the Elden Barons? What are they exactly? Where did they come from? How do members of the main cast escape or fake their death within close proximity of the Elden Baron attacks? If you can answer that, then answer me this. How do those talismans work? And how does one acquire or create said talisman? And finally, how can someone artificially create a town in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere and manage to reenact mass murder upon the town's inhabitants and manage to get away with it? If you can answer all those questions, pat yourself on the back because I don't care. You can't change my opinion with fucking headcanons. The show is too dumb to provide actual explanations to the shit it spews. So, you wasted your time. Now, on the topic of wasted time, while we got the show uncensored in the US and Canada upon release on DVD, Japanese TV stations weren't so lucky. Now, I got some of the live airings of Blood Sea when they first aired, so I'm going to post them up here where my fingers are, so you can get to see some of that bullshit. So, while that's running, I'm going to remind you again that out of the whole show, the story was piss poor. Great, good production quality, good art, good violence, but the violence, they censored it. This made the show literally unwatchable, with its constant use of white boxes, post-edit blurs, hogging up trying to censor every on-screen death imaginable in this show. It It's as annoying as it is infuriating, and the result is the show's descent into infamy as one of the most botched airings of an anime in recent years. To wrap up, this show is the pure and adulterated definition of bigger don't mean better, and you can clearly see it. I'm going to simmer down for a little bit to say that as far as the people behind it goes, this show had a lot of potential. Clamp and Production IG have made some great shows in the past, which makes it all the more confusing of how they managed to fuck up this badly. They've been quite capable of handling story in the past, so you can imagine the puzzled look on my face seeing this travesty unfold. Despite the magnificent spectacles of violence and mass carnage, Bloodbath is an outright travesty, and I do hope with an honest heart that if these two production companies ever decide to work together in the future, that they can redeem themselves from this train wreck. I'm the Gorehound. I review the bloodiest things I get my hands on, and join me next time when I review the anime that literally started this entire channel, Elfen Lied. Until then, I'll see you guys next time.